All right, Chris Cameron on the phone now, of course, the founder of the New Hampshire Tomahawks and the head coach of the now 5-time defending Division I boys lacrosse champions. And let's bring him in on the phone. Coach, how are you?
Great, Nick. Thanks for having me on.
Your team, as usual, picked up some more wins this week. You're now 9-1 on the season, about midway through. Give me a progress report on the BG Cardinals.
So far, we're clicking on all cylinders offensively. Our extra man is over 75% in transition. Whenever we get transition opportunities, we're just finding the right guy. The key is what we've been working on is to really create more opportunities, because this year, more than any year in a while, we've been making a lot of saves in goal. And our goalie, Colin Casey, who's a sophomore, he's been getting 12, 14 saves a game, and one thing that he's been doing is just outlet, and he's turning saves into fast break transition opportunities the other way. So going from defense to offense has been great, and our attack with Alex Astorita, senior, head to Connecticut College, and Nick Prunier, junior, head Holy Cross. They're just, we preach, push, run whenever you can, but if you don't have it, let's possess it. And that's a message sometimes that is, it's a mixed message to kids, because they're like, you tell us push, but how come you wanted me to slow it down this time? But I'm on the same page with them as far as knowing when to push it and when not to push it and when to settle it. So they've just been, the two of them have been quarterbacking our offense, and it's just been very smooth from that standpoint. As far as defense, I'm sorry, Nick,
let me stop you there. I would assume that comes with just experience, right? Just hours out there in game situations.
Absolutely. It's experience when both of those, Nick, this is his third year on varsity, second year as a starter. This is Alex's fourth year on varsity, and it's his third year as a starter. So they've been hearing this message now for, Nick for 3 years and Alex for 4 years. So we're on the same page. They know what it takes. It's not easy for a freshman or a sophomore to pick up on that. But these guys have it. I mean, they know what it takes. Their IQ, lacrosse IQ, is so high that it's a pleasure coaching those guys.
Let's talk a little bit about Alex Astorita and the season he is having. What's he up, Coach? Over 60 points already through 11 games?
He's over 60. Last night against Nashua South, he only played the first half, and he had 6 goals and 3 assists. And I think that pushed him above the 60-point mark. And pretty good balance with goals and assists. So he's, the BG single season record is 126. Not that we're focusing on that, but he's up there with the likes of Jimmy McGinnis and John Colleen and Connor Donahue, who had 120 plus point seasons. That's the kind of season he's having.
Is that I don't know if gotten to his head is the right term or not, but is he aware of what he's been doing here for the first 11 games?
I think he's aware, and part of it too is he's only played a lot of games, only a quarter and a half or a half. So out of the 10 games, he's only played 3 full games. So sometimes when these guys know that they're going to be out there in short time, sometimes inexperienced teams will try to push it and try to make things happen. Especially when we have 6 guys who regularly have 4 or 5 points in a game, but these guys are so unselfish where they let it happen. If one guy's going to have 6 one day, another guy's going to have 2 on the other day. So as far as guys getting hung up on points, we really haven't had that issue, because Alex is he's been a assist guy first, but this year I'm trying to get him to be score first type guy. And last night he had the 6 goals and 3 assists, which was huge against a pretty athletic, strong South team. And he scored in 4 different ways. He had a time and room righty rip, had a time and room lefty rip. He turned the corner righty and finished, turned the corner lefty and finished, and then had 2 in transition. So he scored every way you could possibly score, and that's the kind of player he is. He's a triple threat. He can dodge, he can shoot, he can finish, and he can feed it.
Again, you're listening to FNL Lacrosse here on ESPN New Hampshire Radio. Nick Anastas along with Coach Chris Cameron of the Bishop Girton Cardinals. Tell me a little bit more about that sophomore goaltender. I'd imagine it takes a special type of person, a type of personality to play goalie in general, I'd say, but maybe more so when you're doing it as an underclassman. What kind of a I don't know, personality does the youngster have in the cage for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Goalies have that. They're unique, especially in lacrosse, where they're taking shots all day long, getting hit in the knees.
Taking bullets.
They do. And we try. I mean, we go as much live stuff as we can, but our guys are such good shooters this year that a lot of stuff we're dealing with no goalies in there because we just don't want our guys to get beat up.
Right.
But Colin does have that personality of a goalie where he kind of he's very loose. I guess a little bit goofy in a way. He's just very relaxed type kid. He's kind of, he's not a player that the teammates laugh at. They laugh with,
right.
Which is something that we certainly encourage in our program. We don't want to be those guys that you're laughing at, but you want to be laughing with. And he certainly has the respect of his team. And he had a shaky start. He got a shutout the first game of the season versus Central, then we bounced back, and it was a road game against Bavarian, and he was shaky. And I think it was nerves. But since then, we had a slow start again last night where South came out. He had 3 saves in the first possession. I go back to the Exeter game, and I also go back to the Londonderry game, where he's put up zeros in the first quarter, into the first half, but just huge saves early on because we've come out flat and he's bailed us out. And we talked about the transition game. He gets the ball, and we're going. He's not just a ball stopper, but he's very good out of the cage.
Yeah, I'd imagine that when a team's goaltender is playing well in the first half, that kind of lifts the spirits of everybody else. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, 100%. And that's one of the things we focus on as a team offensively is we want our first few shots to be the best shots we could possibly get. Because if you let a goalie get hot and you start taking weak shots and you get his confidence up, you could just see him and the whole team thrive off of that. And that's what we focus on offensively. But defensively, Colin has him making the saves, and you can just see the whole team in the sideline get pumped up when he makes those saves because people are just, they're rooting for him, knowing that, he is a sophomore. But he does give the team a lift.
Coach Cameron, our guest here on FNL Lacrosse. Big week coming up for Bishop Girton. Monday, they are on the road in Derry at Pinkerton on a grass surface, Coach. A lot has been made of that the last couple of days, highlighting the differences between grass and turf. In your mind, what, if any, of an advantage does a grass team like Pinkerton have over your Cardinals team who primarily plays on turf?
Yeah, I think in the end, if we do, go as far as we can possibly go, that's 21 games. 19 of those 21 games will be on turf for us, and all our practices are on turf, whether it's at PMA or Riv or Stellos. So for us, it is a definite disadvantage that we have to play on grass. We played one grass game that was at Dover. We had a slow first quarter. Just the biggest thing is the footing. There's 3 areas: the footing, ground balls, and then bounce shots offensively and for your goalie. So as the season wears on and you start heading into mid-May and late May and early June, Pinkerton's field becomes rock hard. I mean, you bounce that ball, it could bounce way over the goal. So you have to get a feel for your goalie and also from your shooters is where do you want to put your bounce shot, because you got to pick a spot, whether it's just a foot inside the crease or if it's outside the crease, if you're going to release it 3/4 or straight overhand. You just got to get a feel for where you're going to shoot, where that ball is going to bounce. And then ground balls. Our face-off guys are, they're so used. You kind of get spoiled. You develop bad habits almost playing on turf because the bounce is so clean and so true, where ground balls are easy. So a lot of these battles, it's going to be a battle at the X, and it's going to be a lot of scrums. So coming up with the ground ball in the grass is going to be a big part of this game.
The fact that this rivalry has turned one-sided, or at least so to speak, over the last couple of seasons in your direction, the last few seasons, obviously the 5 championships in a row. All that being said, is there a concern at all, and I know I've asked you this before, but is there a concern that perhaps your guys don't want this game as much as maybe Pinkerton does because the Astros are looking for a little bit of revenge?
That's a great question, and there is concern, absolutely. Our kids, I told them today in practice where we turned our full attention to Pinkerton today because we played South last night. Had a good practice today, and off tomorrow, and then we'll practice again, preparing for Pinkerton. Where I said, my one thing I said more than anything, as far as the scouting report, is you got to not let them want this game more than you, because we know they're going to be hungry. The last 2 times we played at Pinkerton, 2013 and 2011, Pinkerton came out on top. We were able to bounce back and win, the big one in the state championship. 2011, We met in the finals, and I think 13. Yeah, so both of those years we met him again 2-3 weeks later in the finals, and I think Brian will tell you the same thing, that the game in May is not the big game,
right?
But the game in June is the one that you're playing for. So we'll learn a lot about our team. We'll learn a lot about Pinkerton. But this is certainly a game that we have circled, and we really have 7 big games throughout the course of the season, and this is one that as soon as the schedule comes out, you're looking, when am I playing Pinkerton, when am I playing Bedford?
Yeah, I don't think you're the only one doing that, Coach.
I know, but I'll come right out and say it. I mean, we look at that, and this year it's a 2-year. The schedule is on a 2-year cycle, and we just happen to draw both Bedford and Pinkerton on the road this year.
Well, tough for you guys, but makes it a little more entertaining for us neutral bystanders, I suppose.
Yeah, well, let's hope.
Coach Cameron on the phone with us. A couple minutes left here, Coach. I want to turn your attention to some of the other games coming up this week, including another big game on Monday between Souhegan, and they're undefeated, by the way. They're going to be facing Londonderry on, like I said, Monday night. Souhegan and Londonderry, both teams trending, I suppose, in the right direction as they, I guess, fight for that fourth spot, so to speak, at least in public opinion, that fourth maybe semifinal team that is always up for debate. Obviously, we tend to pencil in BG, Pinkerton, and now Bedford in the Division I semis, but that fourth spot could be really anybody's game. Maybe Souhegan, maybe Exeter, maybe Londonderry. I think Monday's game is going to tell us a lot about both schools. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think that it's very fair to say that the 3 teams of BG, Bedford, and Pinkerton are going to be kind of those 1, 2, 3 seeds. And then the next 3, I would have had, until last night, I would have had Exeter, looking at the 6th seed. But then again, they go ahead and play Bedford to a 13 or 11 game. So, they're a young team, and maybe they all of a sudden figured it out, and they get some experience under their belt, and they're certainly still in the mix, because they did lose to Souhegan in overtime by a goal the first game of the year. So they can certainly play with those teams. Londonderry did beat Exeter 10-3. They outshot them 55-12 was the numbers that I heard in that game. So the big advantage that Londonderry has over Exeter, and also I think what's going to play out in the Souhegan game, is they're very athletic and physical, especially at the midfield. They have Lewis Carroll, John Durhack, just some athletic big middies with Peter Navarro. So that's what they have over Souhegan. In addition to that, Souhegan's a little bit light at the midfield, not as athletic. They do have Zach Bossy. They have Foster Burnley, who's an LSM that's one of the tops of the state, and they have Joe Nutting and Brendan Cray at attack. So they're very skilled, but they just don't match the physicality at the midfield that Londonderry possesses. And the other big advantage in that game to me is the scheduling, because Souhegan's schedule has been very soft so far. They really haven't been battle tested. They haven't played a tough game, where Londonderry's played BG, they've played Pinkerton twice,
Bedford,
and then they played Bedford. So they've played 4 tough games. And I'll tell you, I saw live. I watched the Bedford Londonderry game, first game. I'm like, oh man, this team, even though the score is 18-4, they're going to get better. And when we played them last week, they did get better. So they're a team that's certainly under Coach LeBlanc and Coach Marquis and Coach Boyer. They're getting better. They're a team that is going to continue to get better. Yeah,
they're 3-3 right now as we approach the weekend. They'll be tested, obviously, against Pinkerton at home on Saturday, and then, like we discussed, Souhegan comes in on Monday. So it doesn't get any easier for Londonderry either. You highlighted they've had a tough schedule thus far. Well, this next few days is certainly going to be challenging for first-year head coach Sean LeBlanc as well.
It is. And then, Souhegan, I think, they played Central earlier this week, and I think they play them again tomorrow. So, I mean, their schedules,
right.
Certainly you're going to be fresh and rested, but it's how prepared are you going to be for a big game, especially at Londonderry.
Right. Good point, Coach. All right, good luck for sure on Monday, and we will circle the wagons again next weekend.
Thanks, Nick. Have a great weekend.
You too.